In this week's extracellular spotlight, we're going underground, deep underground, with a full review of the just released Oz Shell Striker from the GI Joe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover set with the Scarlett April figure. How does this set compare with other Oz Striker releases? And can you use it with your classified line? Find out inside, only at Heroic Nonsense. Let's go. Don't get shell-shocked, but we're kicking off the second half of the Heroic Nonsense 2026 season with a bit of a lighter spotlight, where I'll be checking out this very rad and totally fun GI Joe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover set, which takes the original 80s Oz Striker design and mutates it for use with those famous heroes in a half shell. From both a kid's and collector's perspective, I think this is totally worth getting. It's really fun to see how the GI Joe characters and vehicles play out in the TMNT space, and while we don't really have any other Turtles figures or vehicles, I could totally see this working with those baseline toys. For GI Joe Classified fans, be sure to stick around until the end because I'll showcase whether this version of the Oz Striker can actually work with your classified line. You might just be surprised. First thing I noticed about this version of the Oz Striker was how similar it looked to the original 80s version, so much so that I thought it was actually the same scale and mold with some extra add-ons. Though it ultimately turned out not to be the case, as we'll see in the comparison section, at least scale-wise, it is essentially the 80s Oz Striker upscaled a bit to fit the TMNT line of figures. So while it does mean that you can't use it with your 1/18 scale Joes, it's a nice collectible to have, and which may actually work with the Sergeant Savage Joe line. It also looks like it would fit right into your TMNT collection for any of you who collect the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toy line. As a toy to play with though, it definitely hits the mark and is just an all-around great addition to anyone's collection. I mean, 2 vehicles and 10 figures right off the bat is pretty great. As a vehicle set itself, not focusing on scale, it's made up of a really cool attack 4x4 with some fantastic detail that comes with a nice version of Scarlett/April in the TMNT style. The Oz Striker itself looks amazing. Truly a slightly larger replica of the original, keeping most of the design and decals from the 80s and adding some enjoyable Ninja Turtle callouts. My favorite upgrade has to be the wheels, which are nice and bulky and have a great design, hinting at the TMNT aesthetic without going too far. I also really like the yellow and green combo that I suspect works really well with the look of the Turtle Party Wagon. The biggest TMNT callback has to be the grille, which definitely plays off of the Party Wagon, but could work as a GI Joe design as well, especially when you think of all the animal style decals the planes and helicopters have. Gotta love that yo bro call out. I do believe it's removable, as it appears to be held in place by a clicked in tab up front, though I personally didn't try removing it as I didn't want to take the chance of breaking it for my boys. The undercarriage has some really nice detailing as well. The hood also keeps much of the original look and decals, but adds some more detail with the addition of a slightly raised shield and other molded in features. The roll cage also has a bit more color and texture to it. The wheels do in fact turn, but only slightly due to the bumper, which sticks out a bit more than the original. Taking a different approach as compared to the classified Oz Striker, you actually get a very similar looking cannon to the original, with a nice launchable missile. I really dig those TMNT references like a crossed out symbol of the foot versus a Cobra one. And that sticker around the Stink Bomb missile itself, which says stink. You also have that removable flag, which works perfectly shape-wise as a pizza that says we deliver. There really are some funny Ninja Turtle related jokes spread throughout. The other side has a more standard comms antenna. Note here the mix of original detailing around the steel mesh sidebars and the turtle-inspired design at the back. The rear is pretty faithful to the original with some hoses, larger exhausts, and really nice gold highlights. The swiveling cannon also has a screen and 2 handles, which is a nice touch and can be held onto by the figures. I'm actually really impressed with all the added detailing and colors. Love that back step, which was also a new feature and looks fantastic. Other than the few kitschy stickers, which can mostly be left off or ignored, this actually looks like a great sized up version of the Oz Striker. I'm hoping they make more actually, in addition to the Dragonfly inspired one. I could see the Havoc working perfectly. As I mentioned earlier, the missile can launch with spring action, which is also a fun addition to this figure, something you don't see much of anymore in the GI Joe line itself. Overall, I really like this homage to the original, which looks and feels like a faithful update to the 80s Oz Striker, even more so than the classified version, which we recently got in that line. The figure itself is a nice blend of Scarlett and April in the style of the Ninja Turtle toys and almost looks like an original O-Ring Joe figure, coming with some crossover accessories including a camera that can become Scarlett's signature crossbow and a microphone. Scarlett is actually such a great matchup for this line. She has ninja training, has similar colors as April O'Neil, and overall looks the part across both lines. She even comes with some standard ninja stars on her forearm. Fairly good posability for a TMNT style figure, almost as good as the original, though missing some swivel action in the elbows and feet. I have to admit, I was surprised at some of the different action poses she can be placed in. Although she does come with the AWE Shell Striker, she's not really meant to be the driver as she is a bit small and can't be placed flush against the seat. That honor is given to the turtles themselves who can fit right in nicely, in this case using Dialtone Donatello as the stand-in driver. If you're into these crossover type figures, many of which we've seen with Transformers but fewer with GI Joe, or collect Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this is a great set to add to your collection. Looks fantastic and definitely meant to party with. As we don't really have any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to compare this with, the few figures we did have already lost somewhere in the house, I am going to focus on the GI Joe part of the set. Starting with the Scarlett/April figure itself, who again, when I first saw this in store, seemed to be 1/18 scale, which obviously isn't the case. Still, it does have a very similar aesthetic, which is nice to see. Scarlett is in perfect scale with the Ninja Turtles though, and looks great, especially next to her GI Joe comic beau, Snake Eyes. As for classified, she's not to scale either, but she can definitely hold her own in the TMNT scale. Obviously, comparing her to the male Joes, she's not even close in height and detail. The real fun comparisons start and end with the vehicles themselves, here focusing on the re-released 80s AWE Striker minus the stickers. I mean, from my perspective at least, it looks like they took the original mold, scaled it up, and added in some better detailing. It totally looks and feels like the original, even with some of the more out there references to the turtle toys. As I mentioned earlier, I love all the small upgrades they made to the vehicle, which are most noticeable in the back, with a ton more molded in detailing, as well as separate pieces for the hose and larger exhaust. Those gold highlights are also pretty awesome and adds a lot to the look of the AWE Shell Striker. The Shell Striker, being an homage to the original, has a lot less in common with the classified AWE Striker other than the very high level design elements. But funny enough, it actually fits a female classified figure fairly well, at least in my opinion. Scale wise, I don't think they're too far off knowing how GI Joe used to have some mini vehicles. I could totally see this being a sort of mini fast attack easily deployable version of the classified AWE Striker. I could also totally see someone modifying and repainting parts of the Shell Striker and adding it to the classified line. I mean, it even already looks pretty good as is. What do you guys think? Taking a bit of liberty from the original 118 line and mini vehicles, could this work in your classified collection? Let the Heroic Nonsense community know in the comments section below. For now at least, we're going to keep this set with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line since my boys are totally into this crossover set. I'll probably do some shorts on the figures themselves soon, so keep an eye out for those. Putting all three together is a nice little AWE Striker display setup as well, in case you like displaying different versions and scales of the same vehicles and figures together. They do look pretty great next to each other, and if I had some doubles, would most definitely have a secondary setup like this. And for you Transformers and crossover fans, I had to throw in Bumblebee from the GI Joe Transformers mashup set, which scales exactly with the original 118 GI Joe line. Pretty cool display as well. As we unfortunately don't have any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys to set the AWE Shell Striker up with, I don't have as many action shots to showcase here as I typically do. However, the ones I do have are pretty fun looking ones and are a good foundation for future potential releases. I truly love this one of the turtles hanging off the side of the AWE Striker, totally fits their MO and makes for a great display. I also really like this one of Buzzer Rocksteady attacking the AWE Striker, running towards it like Marvel's Rhino would. Or even better, him lifting it up over his head and ramming his horn into the undercarriage. And just a few more, one recreating an action-packed turtle power shot of Snake Eyes Leo attacking Destro Krang and Buzzer Rocksteady. And the other of Scarlett April interviewing the turtles, perhaps for the first time ever. Also, great way to have an embedded reporter to document and promote the Joes, similar to Scoop, who, might I add, has a similar color scheme for his uniform. For GI Joe classified collectors who might have the modular defense post, this setup works perfectly. While we do have most of the TMNT GI Joe figures, we haven't opened all of them yet. However, you get a good idea here how well the two sets work together. Great way to combine different lines. I have to say, they went all in for the packaging. What great visuals, and it was the visuals that actually attracted me and my boys to the set when we first saw it. Nice side paneling as well, mixing in the original Joe Explosion Flash with the bricks and green coloring. The taglines are great too, very 80s and 90s. You can fit the entire turtle team. The back panel is really where it's at though. So much info and detail, like calling out the special accessories like the stink bomb missile and the shotgun shell gun, plus a great description of the AWE Striker at the top left and a clippable file card for April, codenamed Scarlett, just like the original 80s Joe figures came with. Scarlett's file card is a great read. I really like the way they merged the two worlds and backgrounds into one. Pause it here to read more about Scarlett and the Ostriker. The other side panel also plays off of those fun 80s and 90s designs and added toy info. They even designed the top panel in a similar style. Really nice to see this level of detail. Rounding it all out, another fantastic bonus piece, the Cowabunker plans, which includes a ton of detail regarding the Joe turtle base and where the Ostriker fits into it. Essentially the pit for the turtles. Really, take a look at it if you have the time, you won't be disappointed. And finally, we'll end with a glimpse at the packaging of the figures themselves. We almost got all of them, only missing 2. You can see what I mean when I say these are great fun and great looking toys and packaging. So that's it for this week. I'm now back from some vacation, so we'll be wrapping up the spotlights and coming at you with a whole new set of GI Joe Classified and Transformers figures to enjoy. Lots of great things on the horizon, so make sure to stick around and subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss a beat. Thanks for watching, and remember, Cowabunga, dude!
Transform!